about taking kids to the calling hours or to the funeral? What are your thoughts on that? Is that a good idea?
I think it's a good idea to talk this over with family members and the child and give them the information about what a funeral is or what the calling hours are and what's going to happen with the loved one's body, and kind of go in a step-by-step process about what's going to happen to let them know what to expect if they want to go or if they don't want to go, and get feedback from the child about how comfortable they feel about going to these memorials or activities, and just kind of go from there. And if they choose not to go, or the family chooses for them not to go, let the child know that there are other things that they can do to memorialize their loved one or say goodbye. You can write a letter, you can go to a special place. All of those things are fine, but it just really depends on what the child needs and what the family feels is appropriate.
Talk a little bit about the child wanting to get in bed with the parent or being afraid to go to sleep. And what are some other behaviors or things that parents could be on the lookout for if they're worried that their child's having an intense or complicated grief reaction?
Well, first about the sleeping in the bed with the primary caregiver. I think it's a very natural response, especially for little ones, to initially want to probably sleep with the loved one. And, for that first initial time, they're finding out about this big thing that's going on in their life. But I also think it's very important that the caregivers make sure that the child gets back to their routine, gets comfortable back into their own bed, because the children not only need safety and security with the loved one, they need that in their own space without the caregiver. They need to have their own sense of autonomy, and as adults we need to help children be comfortable with that. Other behaviors that might come out that could cause some concern are children can have difficulty with sleeping or eating, very increased change in their patterns. They also can have difficulty with school disruption that just goes on, or they can have somatic symptoms like continuous tummy aches or headaches, and in that case parents or caregivers could seek professional guidance to see how can they be more helpful to the child. If the child is feeling ill for a prolonged time, it's best to have the pediatrician check them out. And if it seems like it's connected to emotional distress, then seeking help from a counselor could be helpful to do an assessment of, is this a prolonged effect of grief or other issues?
Parents and caregivers for themselves as well as their children wonder, how long is this grief going to last? And do children really get over the death of a loved one, over the death of a parent or a grandparent? Or when do they start to feel better? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Unfortunately, there's no prescribed time that children get over their grief. Naturally, there are milestones that people in general come upon which they will have their ups and downs. There are birthdays and graduations and holidays that they would have expected their loved ones to be present at, and they won't be there. And so grief comes in waves. Some days are better than others, and it's just something that we all live with. But there are ways for people to grieve in a healthy manner.
What are some of those healthy ways we can encourage our children to grieve?
Healthy ways are doing memorials for our loved ones, and just continuing to know that your loved one, it's okay to continue to love your loved one, and it's okay to think about them, and occasionally you will be sad and sometimes you'll be happy. They'll always be with you, but their lifetime has just come to an end.
What are other healthy outlets for grief?
I think it's important to remind our children of the things that they enjoy doing. Good ways for children to grieve and also address feelings that they're having within themselves are natural play, art, if they like music, if there are uneasy feelings of anger, help children learn, don't punch a wall, but maybe you can punch a pillow. Always try to encourage them to use their words. Anything that they could do at their own developmental stage to help them get through their grief process.
To summarize, Siobhan, what words of encouragement do you have for parents out there who see that their child is really grieving a death of a special person in their life?
I always try to encourage parents, first off, to take care of themselves so that they're able to take care of their children and be aware of their children's needs that might come up at times that they unexpected. It is a hard time for everyone, but the best thing to do is support themselves and support one another.